The Hisense U8N is the best 2024 ULED model that you can pick up from Hisense in South Africa. In many ways, Hisense sees the U8N as their high-end TV, and I won't argue with this because the U8N is pretty remarkable. I tried my hardest to find as many flaws as possible with this TV, and after over 2 weeks and countless hours of testing, I'm happy to report that if you're buying the U8N, you're getting a very good TV. If anything, you're getting the best TV that you can possibly buy for its price tag. A TV that packs image quality and technology that you simply won't find for this price tag. I don't want to give into the whole cliche OLED killer script that every YouTuber has thrown out there, but in certain conditions, this TV will fool a lot of people into thinking that you own an OLED. During the day, the peak brightness of this TV combined with the deep blacks and ridiculously vibrant colors deliver an OLED experience. At night, the halo and bloom are more noticeable, but even then, this TV's dimming zones and engine do a superb job diminishing those distractions. The U8N is a testament to the potential of mini LED technology. I will get into the technical stuff of this Hisense U8N review soon, but first let's cover the TV model. Hisense sent over the 75-inch U8N for testing. The 75-inch model is the only one in the range that includes an ADS Pro panel. 55, 65 and 85 all include VA panels. ADS Pro is essentially a fancy IPS panel. The 75-inch model comes with 2000 local dimming zones. The 75-inch U8N is also the best model when it comes to local dimming zones and peak brightness. It has 2000 local dimming zones and a higher peak brightness than all the models beneath it and above it. When you look at the 85-inch model, the local dimming zones drop to 1296 and the peak brightness is also a bit lower. So if you're looking for the brightest U8N TV with the most local dimming zones, the 75-inch size is the best value. I have already done a full unboxing and setup of the Hisense U8N, so I won't spend much time on it here. You can find a link to the full unboxing and setup in the description below. In short, the TV relies on a stand that can be positioned at 2 different heights. The stand keeps the cable management together thanks to the back plastic clip that hides it all away. The back is then covered by the plastic cover. This means that you'll have to have longer HDMI cables to run them to the center of the TV first, and then down the stand and then to your hardware. The stand itself is easy to install once you understand how to use either the higher or lower position of the TV. You simply then screw the back mount to either the upper or lower screw holes. The open holes are then used as a support screw for the mount. The TV's weight is then counterbalanced by the very heavy metal stand that screws into the base. It all looks quite sleek and the metal stand is really clean. It is all quite an easy process to set up. The IR sensor is 6.5 centimeters off the stand at the highest position and 4.5 centimeters on the lower spot. So be sure to measure the thickness of your soundbar to ensure that it will fit under your TV and you'll still be able to navigate using the remote. Keep in mind that you can't adjust the TV height position without completely removing the stand and moving it up. You can always download the VIDAA mobile app to navigate around the TV if the remote and IR sensor get in the way. Hisense could honestly get away with this by using a Bluetooth remote. IR remotes are over 30 years old now, and I just feel like Hisense should offer something better with these TVs, or perhaps the option to purchase a better remote and pair it to the TV. It also doesn't help that both the US and UK versions of the U8N come with really cool remotes. The US version includes a silver Bluetooth remote with backlit keys. The UK version includes a USB-C charger remote with a solar panel attached to it to recharge the battery. A solar panel on a remote, now that's pretty cool tech. In terms of the ports, the Hisense U8N comes with the expected ones. There are 4 HDMI ports, 2 of which are HDMI 2.1 and 1 is used for eARC. There's an AV tuner audio out 2 USB ports and a digital optical out port. There's no real change here. The eARC port is on HDMI 3, which means you lose a high bandwidth HDMI port if you're using a soundbar or sound system. Overall, the U8N is a stylish looking TV. It is quite thick, but it needs to be for all those mini LEDs. There's a small Hisense logo on the bottom left hand corner of the TV, and the back includes some grid texture with a subwoofer in the center. One thing I do need to note is the TV does get incredibly hot, so keep that in mind if you're in a small room. The TV does run VIDAA, and generally getting around the menus and launching apps is quite a breeze. Every menu popped up without lag or stutter. YouTube loaded up fairly fast, and moving between that and Netflix was seamless. The system also manages to leave apps open in the background, so you don't always have to relaunch them when you open them up. I don't enjoy the ads on VIDAA at all. The home screen is slapped with a giant banner ad at the top of the TV. It mainly shows Hisense adverts. These ads showcase deals for Hisense products across retailers, and there's even some Cell-C ads for the Hisense phone range. But they can still be annoying. Thankfully, you can disable them in the Advanced Settings tab under the Personalized Ads section. VIDAA as a platform has come a long way. It does include most of the apps that you'll look for on a TV, and if it doesn't, you can always get an Android TV stick for them. Most people will be happy with the offerings available on VIDAA, and I especially enjoy the fluid menus and the lag-free navigation. On another note, VIDAA art is included on the U8N too. It shows stunning artworks as a screensaver when you're not using the TV. I know that most TVs do this, but the U8N's panel and quantum dot color really bring these to life. I don't often use these modes, but I found myself turning it on more often when I had this TV installed. Once set up and running, I did calibrate the TV and adjust some settings. I will share the full settings at the end of this review, but I did the usual tweaks on the U8N. I disabled motion smoothing, changed the color temperature to warm 2, and maxed out the local dimming. Keep in mind that TV calibrating and changing the settings of a TV are two completely different things. So I can share what settings I use on the TV, but when it comes to calibration, that's a per panel specific experience that relies on changing the balance of your settings to suit your specific panel. So if I had to share the calibration settings, they might not work for the panel because your panel might be slightly different. With that being said, the U8N does have some handy settings that I also used. Precision detail I did turn on, but only on a case-by-case basis. It did sharpen the image to create more detail, but at times I felt like it might have over-sharpened the image. There's also super resolution, which helps with upscaling content. So I often just left this on and let the TV decide what had to be upscaled and what didn't. I am happy to say that everything on the U8N did work as intended. I didn't have any settings defaulting back to normal, and best of all, local dimming worked when it was meant to work. If I had to nitpick one issue, I did notice that unlike the U7N, which shows the frame rate of a game at the top corner of the screen, the U8N doesn't have this feature. You can see the frame rate and what the frame rate is fluctuating at in the game menu, but there's no way to have it displayed on the screen while you're playing a game. So you always have to go into the game menu, look at it, and even then the menu is oversized and clunky. It also times out after a few seconds. I wish there was a way to show the frame rate on the TV like you can on the U7N. It just seems like a feature that should have been there, especially given that the U8N is a better TV. Testing out content on the U8N far surpassed my expectations. Whereas darkroom and nighttime viewing used to be my preference for gaming and watching TV, I actually enjoyed playing games and watching movies in lighter rooms with this TV. The sheer brightness, and again I hate saying it, OLED experience that this TV offers makes this possible. To add to this OLED experience, the Hisense U8N does include a glossy screen. It is just as glossy as any other OLED on the market, but that doesn't mean it's very reflective. Everything I threw at this TV was still viewable, even with the back-facing window and no curtain drawn. You'll see this throughout the content. I intentionally left the back-facing window curtain open just to show how well this panel held up in full bright conditions. Watching Salem's Lot, a dark and gritty movie mostly set at night about vampires, wasn't brought down by the brighter room. Sure, it was better to watch this dark movie at night, but I didn't have to squint my eyes to see what was happening in the movie if I watched it during the day. Of course, brighter content looks even better on the U8N. After testing out some HDR clips from YouTube, I noticed that the TV really shows off its best traits on super bright full screen content. The colors pop, the back levels are so rich and deep, and the specular highlights shimmer on this display. When it comes to blooming, the Hisense U8N does a great job cleaning up bloom around objects. In brighter rooms, it is virtually impossible to spot this bloom. No joke here. Throughout my time with this TV, I tried incredibly hard to spot some glow of blue when watching the TV during the day, and it's really difficult. I just couldn't find any. Even the black bars when watching movies are clean and pure black. At night, of course, it is visible, but even then the TV does a tremendous job of blocking out the halo and the bloom. Black bars do lighten up when the object above it is bright. If you have a completely black screen with one very bright object on it, you will see some subtle blooming around it. But the real magic on the U8N is how bright these objects can get while still serving up what I would say very light bloom. Usually this is a lot worse on most TVs. Playing the Silent Hill 2 remake, this game is mostly dark. Once calibrated and the game HDR settings were tweaked, dark hallways were pitch black. Smaller details did have a faint bloom around them, but only when placed against these pitch black hallways. The real eye-opener for me was that hallways were still fully viewable and detailed without being diminished by the aggressive local dimming. This would be a very different experience on other mini-LED TVs, where the local dimming would crush these low light scenes so much in the attempt to reduce the bloom. I simply can't complain about the blooming on the Hisense U8N. While I wanted to find more flaws here, everything this TV does more than makes up for the small flaws that I did find. Not to mention the sheer magic this panel delivers when it comes to the vibrancy and peak brightness. On that note about gaming, it was incredible. Playing Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, the HDR implementation on that game covers all special attacks, fire and zaps. Seeing Goku pull off a spirit bomb and have my entire room light up with its massive glowing orb was pretty magical. Even my eyes were stinging a little bit. I knew the U8N was bright, but the combination of the color and the brightness made this game a showcase title on this TV. I also need to mention Black Myth Wukong, as the Hisense U8N ships with a dedicated color mode called Black Myth Wukong. I kid you not. This tweaks the panel settings to what Hisense believes is the best for the game. I didn't enjoy it that much, I won't pretend to. The fact that Black Myth Wukong doesn't even have HDR implementation means that the game isn't doing anything to take advantage of the impressive tech on this TV. The result is a washed out color mode that, in my opinion, doesn't look great. Maybe if they patch in HDR into the game it will make a difference, but as it stands, the mode just doesn't work. The Hisense U8N did hit some impressive numbers when it came to the stats. In a 10% peak brightness window, I measured 2,879 nits in HDR mode and very similar nits in game mode. The contrast ratio, however, isn't as great. You're looking at 89,000 to 1 with a native contrast of 4,700 to 1. The contrast is much lower than I expected, but I do suspect that this is due to the ADS per panel being used on the 75-inch model. It isn't such a big deal because you're getting a bigger TV that is brighter and it has more local dimming zones than any other of the U8N models on the market. Input lag while gaming then measured 30 milliseconds at 4K 60 FPS and 5 milliseconds at 4K 120 Hz. Viewing angles on the U8N are quite good, better than the U7N. From around 30 degrees, you'll notice a drop in color and clarity, but the TV still manages to hold up quite well. Best of all, the TV doesn't have any major clouding and blooming from the side. Well, that depends on the content. At night when you're watching really dark content, you can see some blooming. So even if you do lose some color accuracy and clarity, you'll still be able to clearly see what's on the TV. In short, the viewing angles here are much better than I expected, and much better than most LED TVs I have tested. On the topic of the panel, the U8N I received for review had a fairly clean panel. It had a few edges with some backlight bleed, but when local dimming was enabled, it was clean and invisible. Grey uniformity tests also showed a little bit of dirty screen effect, although the corners of the TV had more than it anywhere else. And when you're watching content, unless you go looking for this, and I mean looking hard for these little issues, you won't even notice it. Lastly, the speakers on the U8N are quite good. The TV comes with its own subwoofer that helps provide a bit more power to the sound, and it does a decent job. If you don't have a soundbar or a sound system, these speakers will be usable and actually quite decent for your setup. However, I do believe that a TV this impressive really should be combined with an equally impressive sound system, so you probably won't be using the built-in speakers on the TV.
Where is she? Where is she?
If you can't tell by now, I really love the Hisense U8N. To have a mini LED TV perform at this level is quite mind-blowing. The colors, the brightness, the black levels, the glossy screen, the responsiveness, the gaming features, it ticks every box. So much so that the few flaws it has are completely put to rest thanks to the other incredible features. Sure, you are paying a bit more for the Hisense U8N than say the U7N, but this TV is for those who want the experience of less bloom and the retina-frying peak brightness that comes with it. It is the TV that you buy knowing that you'll have very little regret by doing so. So those are my thoughts on the Hisense U8N. It's really a great TV. Do you have any questions? Let me know in the comments down below. I do have the U7N review up on the channel already, and the U6N Pro reviews coming up very soon, so stick around for that. Huge thanks to Hisense for sending all the review units my way, they've kept me very busy. While you're here, please do consider liking and subscribing for future content like this, and visit my site glitch.online for daily news and reviews on games and tech. Until next time, farewell.